All right, I believe we are live on YouTube. And tonight is March the 21st, 2021. So 3/21/21, which is pretty awesome. So tonight we have another special guest, and I am so excited for you guys to hear from her. But before we introduce her, I just want to congratulate everybody who was a STAR consultant that finished last week. And as you can give yourself a little virtual hand, I'm so proud of you. If you're actually on live tonight, just go ahead and put in there in the chat if you were a STAR consultant and what level you were. And we would just love it. And if you're watching on YouTube, we'd love to celebrate with you because that's important. And I know some of you really stretched for it, and I'm proud of you. So anyway, we have got like 10 days left for the month. And I know for me, y'all might see over my shoulder here, that is a big old pink Cadillac poster. And so we're going for the pink Cadillac Plus and have just a little bit more to go in 10 days. So I'm excited. It's always exciting to win in March. And, normally we would be at Career Conference right now somewhere. But just to remind you that Career Conference is, I don't know if it's no longer, but this year it's called Rockin' Red Rally. So it's something totally different, but it is similar, and it's $20 to register. Registration is open. So you want to go ahead and do that. Certainly you would invest $20 in your business, right? So let me go ahead and introduce our guest speaker that I am so excited. Okay, so Stephanie Richter. This is who we have the pleasure of listening to tonight. So let me tell you just a little bit about her. Stephanie began her career in February 1990 as a single woman during her first year as a special ed teacher while planning an out-of-state wedding. Okay, do you see all that? She earned her first consultant career car 1 year later to replace the yellow Pinto she was driving at the time. That's so funny, Stephanie, because I remember my dad had a purple Pinto. Anyway, leadership was her passion, and she had some growing to do. So she chose to lead her unit and become a sales director 1 year later, April 1992. Her incredible unit, full of remarkable women, have been recognized in the unit circles as a top unit in Mary Kay every year, with their highest in sales being in excess of $800,000. She's blessed to be a leader of leaders with 4 offspring sales directors. She was called to participate in Mary Kay's Global Leadership Development Program and opened Mary Kay Peru, you guys, in September 2017. Her reign in Peru unit is strong and growing, and even currently has a DIQ. So she will have a director in Peru. Isn't that amazing? Because of her excellence of her unit, her and her family have had the privilege of driving 16 cars, 14 of which are pink Cadillacs, blessing her husband of 30 years with 11 all expense paid 5-star top director trips to Greece, Paris, Rome, Germany, Spain, Sweden, Maui twice, France, Monaco, Alaska, and China. And they all have been amazing. She leads her consultant by example by being a STAR consultant 108 quarters, you guys, and the company court of sales 9 times. Her highest commission check so far in 1 month has been over $17,000 in 1 month. She was most honored by being named Miss Go Give in June of 1997, which doesn't surprise me, and again in January of 2004 by her peers. Stephanie and Chuck have 2 awesome boys, 27-year-old Quinn and 21-year-old Grayson, and will soon join the Grandparents Club. Oh, congratulations. Both boys have benefited greatly from growing up in a positive, faithful, entrepreneurial Mary Kay home. And so please welcome from Linwood, Washington, way on the other coast from me, the amazing Stephanie Richter. And Stephanie, I just want to thank you for taking your time out. I got a sweet card from you today. I'm like, why she sent me a card, and I'm going to turn right back around and send you one. So thank you for just doing this for me tonight. I'm so grateful, and I can't wait to hear your story and just really hear all about anything you want to share with us tonight. So I'm going to let you just take it away.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This business is just so special, right? You guys, I want to say one thing about my accolades. When you when you hear accolades, when you hear a director's accolades, you know, it's a list of tends to be a list of more of the material things, right? It tends to be. But I just really, I mean, I know we probably have a wide range of new consultants to very seasoned. Maybe some of you, I know Cleta and I have been in the company about the same amount of time, right? Cleta, how long have you been in Mary Kay?
35. I joined in 85.
Okay, so yeah, so 5 years prior to me. So, you know, and some maybe, I don't know who else is on. So maybe there's some that are even longer, but there's one thing that I want you to know when you hear accolades like that, that is all about the people. It is all about the people. You know, Mary Kay knew that when she started this company, you know, almost 58 years ago now. So one thing that you heard Cleta say in my accolades was about Peru. And as I tell you my story, I want you to keep in mind, I want you to keep this in mind as you hear my story, because I really took some time today to not change my story, because I can't do that, but to tweak it and to organize it in a way that brought a couple really important, maybe points that are really important to me right now, or because our world has changed some, you know, just the different things now as we can look back, you know, in my 31 years in Mary Kay, I can look back and there's things that make sense. And there's things that, and during those times, maybe they didn't make sense or whatever. So as I tell my story, I want you to kind of see this theme of, we don't always know why. We just don't always know why. We talk a lot about dreams and whys in Mary Kay, and I'm going to talk about that. But when you have that list of accolades, there's a lot of whys in that. And Mary Kay, you cannot journey in your Mary Kay business and achieve success in the sense of financially, cars, trips, diamonds, you know, all the things and the accolades that you heard, you know, the 800,000 or unit clubs and blah, blah, blah. You can't achieve those things without, for long term, without people being involved and without you changing along the way. And that's the important stuff. So Cleta had sent me the flyer that you guys had. And Cleta, when I sent you that message back, I really, because we don't know each other really, really well, you know, we've been around each other so much, but not like in each other's spaces across the table, right? And, but I still I know Cleta, right? I know enough to know her heart. And so when she had done the flyer, there was a accolade in there that was, I can't remember which one it was, but maybe the unit clubs or, Circle of Achievements.
Yeah.
It was 8, she put 8 Circle of Achievements instead of 18. And I was like, oh, geez, should I tell her? And the only reason it has to do with this whole point of what I want to share tonight is because when you run this business the way Mary Kay intended this business to be run, you can build a long-term, sustainable, profitable, productive, blessed business. Long-term, sustainable, profitable business. And that's something my consultants hear all the time. And so I wanted you guys to see that for that reason, not because I felt like, oh, you know, like probably many of you wouldn't even look that close, right? Plus it's really small print too. So I can't even see it if I don't have my glasses on anyways. But my point in that was, as I was thinking that through, Cleta, as I was like deciding, do I even say anything? Because really, it didn't really matter to me. But then I thought, you know what, my whole like thing right now as a director, as we have made this shift in this last year, is to create this long-term sustainability and this profitability in this beautiful, amazing business in who you become something. For those of you that haven't been in Mary Kay very long, you will look back and not even recognize the girl that started. Can you say that, Cleta? Can you look back at the girl that started your Mary Kay business and go, I don't even recognize the girl that, if I was to put myself back there and look at this girl I am today, this woman I am today, I would be like, they're not the same person. No. And so much of that is because of God and because of Mary Kay the priorities of this business of putting God first, family second, career third. So I had to say all that before I can tell you my story, because all of that matters. It really all matters. And I don't want anybody that ever hears my story to miss the most important pieces that have nothing to do at all with me and everything to do with God and Mary Kay. I always say that. I always say the three most important things I've done in my life was Jesus. I chose Jesus. I chose my husband. I chose to have children, but that I feel like that's kind of comes along. And then I chose my Mary Kay business. So the three most important things. So you guys, I did start my business, like you heard, 31 years ago. And Mary Kay came to my attention 31 years ago because I believe that, things cross our paths at different times for different reasons. But here I was as a 25-year-old living paycheck to paycheck. I was engaged to be married. You heard that in 6 months from when I started my Mary Kay business. I had only been teaching for about not even 2 full months. I started in February and I was the 4th teacher in that classroom when I got hired. So you guys can imagine as a brand new teacher being put in this classroom now I'm the 4th one and I'm 25. And let's just say teaching was not my strength. So 6 months later, after I started my business, was when my student loans are going to be coming due and when I was getting married. So you can imagine if we were already living paycheck to paycheck, what was going to happen when I added that $400 student loan payment into our brand new marriage. So one factor that made me say yes to Mary Kay, there's one factor. And I can look back now and recognize that factor, but I didn't at the time. I did not see this coming at all. So like I said at the beginning, if you are a new consultant, you might be thinking that your purpose is blank. You fill in that blank, whatever your purpose is for Mary Kay, but time will tell. I always tell my kids that time will tell, and they always roll their eyes at me. It's like, Mom. And now they're getting old enough now that they're like, oh yeah, that's one of those things Mom said. Yeah, time will tell. So let me tell you this. I'm going to share this one factor with you, because I believe it plays a part in when we share this opportunity and how we share this business. But first, let me tell you what it wasn't. It seemed like maybe these would be reasons why it was, but it wasn't. It wasn't my love for the beauty industry. I didn't wear any makeup. I didn't own a dress. Fancy was not my gig, and really fancy is still not my gig. I wish they would have a seminar, awards night, pajama night. I know that sounds so stupid, and it's a good thing I'm not in charge, but that's what I wish. It wasn't the amazing products. I was using my sister's dry skin products back in the day. She had just shipped them to me because I was complaining about my skin where I was going to school and where I met my husband. She has dry skin, I have combination skin. So you can imagine I wasn't getting very good results from the products. It wasn't my brilliant business sense that recognized the strength and the legacy of this $5 billion company that has stood the test of time. Back then it was 30 some odd years, but now almost 58. It wasn't Mary Kay's incredible story of determination and vision, and overcoming all odds as a middle-aged woman. Now that I'm a little more than a middle-aged woman, probably a 3/4 aged woman, according to statistics anyways. Middle-aged woman in her male-dominated kind of good old boy world to build this wildly successful company that's now in almost 40 countries. Oh, I meant to talk about that Peru. That's why I started that thought. So don't let me forget. Bring it back up to me, Cleta, if I forget.
Okay.
It wasn't that we make 50% of everything we sell, and that what we sell is consumable. So we get paid again and again and again. And through that consumable product, we build these beautiful relationships with clients who trust us, refer us, and appreciate us. It wasn't the potential monthly leadership commissions that were more than my yearly teaching salary. My teaching salary was $16,000 a year. That was my salary, which ended up being about $856 and some change a month was how much I was being paid as a teacher back then. Teachers actually get paid pretty good in the state of Washington. They may not say that, but anyways, it's another story. It wasn't earning the use of cars with, every 2 years with the bulk of the insurance paid. It wasn't the 5-star trips that were an option. It wasn't diamonds that were the things. You know what it was, you guys? Looking back on it, even though all those things spoke to me, it was hope. It was hope. It was hope for more choices. It was hope to choose to invest my time versus spending it where someone else determined its most valuable place to be spent. It was hope to make financial choices based on values versus on looming needs. It was hope that I could leave a job that was not congruent with my strengths, my talents, and my ambitions. I don't have, I never say anything negative about teaching, because teaching's, my sister's a teacher, my mom is a teacher, or whatever job I might have had. It wasn't that. It was me in the job that I wasn't using what I was made to use, and in a way I was made to use it. And I know many people are doing that are working a job, or even have a career or a long-term career that is stifling and affecting their worth and their value, and they're outside their strengths and their talents and their ambition. This, over time, I believe this can steal, that incongruency can steal your confidence, your purpose, and your passion. And that's what was happening to me in just that short time I was working. So 31 years ago, when Mary Kay came to my attention, our future was filled with that kind of fear and uncertainty. It looked unsteady and scarce. It looked a little bit hopeless. But now, and however, I was a very determined individual. I wasn't a victim to that. I wasn't laying down and dying to that and blaming my paycheck or blaming teaching or blaming. I wasn't doing that. I wasn't finding a reason why I couldn't. I just knew something had to change. So that was the view of our future as a brand new couple. But back then, it was what God used to get my attention to say yes. He used my self-reliance, which is not a positive. I want to make sure that that's clear. My self-reliance and my stubborn behavior, I knew I needed that. He used those actually very negative things in my character at the time, but he used that so that I would ignore the voices in my head, because I didn't know that God even spoke to me at that point in my life. I didn't know him. I didn't have any relationship with him. So he used those things that were negative things, because I had these voices in my head that said, you're uneducated. You're an educated woman. You'll be wasting your degree. Makeup is so vain. Shouldn't you do something more noble? What will people think of you? You have this degree or whatever. You can't really make money doing that. Anybody have those voices? Your voices may say different things, but your voices, those negative voices, can still trip us up. But God used my funky character at the time to get my attention to say yes to Mary Kay. Then I heard somebody before I said yes to Mary Kay, I was at this function. My recruiter introduced me or kept me layered. She introduced me to Mary Kay. She was my neighbor. And I didn't get paid for another probably 2 or 2.5 weeks. And so I couldn't start my business until 2 to 2.5 weeks later. But so she introduced me, or she brought me to things and introduced me to Mary Kay people to a brunch when we did big events. We're all going to talk about that. It's like, back in the day when we did big events, pre-whatever. Anyways, life is so interesting. She took me to a smaller kind of an event too. And so she layered me. And I heard somebody say at this event, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you got. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. It's actually scared me. And it scared me enough to fuel the hope to say yes to Mary Kay. Because if that period of time, as you all know, when somebody says yes, but they say I'm going to pay on such and such a day, there's a lot that can happen in that time. And it was starting to happen. But because she kept me layered and I heard that, I still said yes to Mary Kay. And I believe to this day that God gave me a glimpse of the possibilities within Mary Kay at those events, just enough, just enough to say yes. I always knew I had great ambition. I always knew I had qualities like tenacity and determination, work ethic, grit, and a heart to make a difference in the world. That's why I wanted to be a special education teacher, because I saw that would be a way to make a difference. But it was not the right fit for me, and I knew it going in. I just ignored those voices. So all of those qualities I had, but they were like wild horses running through a field of flowers and just like trampling over everything. That's just how I was wired. And it was more of a kind of that, I had lots of edges that needed to be smoothed out in Mary Kay. But the qualities of the women in Mary Kay that nurture you, their experience as mentors, leaders, and guides. Though those people in my life pointed me and took those and helped me take those qualities that God gave me and make them into fine leadership and empowering qualities. That's what I found in Mary Kay. I thank God. I thank God that I had just enough humility. I don't even know if I knew that word back then, to listen to those who went before me. And over much time, those crazy wild horses did become tamed and trained over much time. And there's still work to do, plenty of it. Mary Kay is one of those few business cultures where there is a hand that you can reach up to. At the same time, your hand is reaching down. And it's one of the very few places where we literally get to be mentored and mentee all at the same time. And this culture is very much a safe place for us to be refined and molded and polished into someone that you won't even recognize. So everyone has a dream, right? Everyone has an attached why. And then there's that ambition to go after it. So my original dream of paying off a student loan and paying for a honeymoon has long been met, and it's been replaced with new ones all along the way of the different seasons of life. So my husband of 30 years and I will be first-time grandparents in August. Super excited for that. Been waiting. Our son got married a year ago, February, thank God, right before COVID, like 4 weeks before. Because I live in crazy town. Let me just tell you first, I live in crazy town. And I live right next to where they found the first COVID Kirkland, in Kirkland, Washington, Costco town. So anyway, he got married a year right before all that broke. And then they're going to have their first baby in August. So we're really excited, but life has changed a lot. And then our youngest is 21. We have two boys. Our youngest goes to school in Missoula, Montana, in a one-year program that's an intensive Rocky Mountain School of Photography professional intensive program. So we get to, travel. So lots in between that, right? If you've raised children, if you've ever done teenager, God help you if you haven't done it yet. I'm just saying, pray a lot. If you haven't met Jesus, you want him. You're going to want him before teenagers. I don't know, maybe none of you had that kind of experience with your teenagers. We did. So, and I'm so grateful for the Mary Kay world that kept us steady through that. We had people that had gone before us that we could call and go, okay, we'll make it, right? We're going to make it. So anyways, but it is so true, you guys, that Mary Kay kids are different. And I really encourage you, if you have littles, again, I don't know who's all on and what my audience is, but where everybody's at in their life. But if you have littles or it doesn't matter, if you have children at all and you just started your Mary Kay business, let them be exposed to it big time. Get them in there with you. Don't be afraid to let them be inconvenienced due to your business. Like, for example, wait for you while you have an appointment that maybe it went over because she wanted to know more about the Mary Kay opportunity. And so you're not going to waste that time because, you said you're going to be home at such and such a time or whatever. There's a balance in there, right? Let them be a little inconvenienced. Let them go with you to deliver product on the way to carpooling or on the way back, that they might have to wait before they, let them do that. Because when you show that you value and respect your business, they will value and respect your business. If something as simple as choosing to buy something as a family and waiting to buy it until you have made the money in your Mary Kay business, all of the money, not putting part of it on a card and then paying it off. Let them see that. Let them experience the waiting. Because really, truly, I do believe that exposing your kids to this business, it really does set them up for success in their life. I've seen it playing out. And the best thing you can give them is your best version of you. Who you are is the best thing you can give your family. When you miss goals, let them see you be disappointed. Let them see you cry. Let them see you be really upset when you miss a goal. But let them see you handle that disappointment in a healthy and a strong and a faithful way, that you pick yourself back up, you wipe off the tears, you empower with them with the example of taking personal responsibility versus hearing excuses of why it didn't happen. Sometimes we just miss a goal. I don't always know why. Let me just say there's a huge amount of goals I've missed, and I bet Cleta and I could have stories. I don't know why. sometimes it might look like numbers, and sometimes it's just not. And sometimes it's just trusting God that that's just it just is. So when they hear you handle that with personal responsibility and not blaming, shaming yourself or blaming somebody else, or playing the victim, then you set them up for life full of possibilities. Because where there's a life that's full of possibilities, there's a life that's full of failures. And there's a life of dreams that are met, and there's a life of dreams that are missed and goals that are missed. So I always would think about the character. And I was taught this. These are not like, these are all the things I've learned in my Mary Kay business for the women that have gone before me, and the people that God has given me to mentor me in this business. But I think about the character of what I want my kids to have, what kind of character I want them to have. And then how many times my husband and I got to, in our business, show that character. So it's one thing to speak it, to speak integrity and to say honesty and blah, 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 but to actually walk it out and for them to see it played out in our businesses, in our homes, day in and day out and day in and day out, is something so powerful to give our kids. So I want to close up with, I don't even know what time it is. So I'll probably get done a little early, Cleta, but I want to close this with a story. I'm going to tie in a little bit of my story, and with dreams, whys, and ambitions, I guess is how I'll say it, all kind of connected. So I want to ask all of you, what is your ambition? It's a word that I don't know, I don't think we use it very often. We ask you, what's your dream? Why do you want that dream? Those are things that are asked a lot, in our Mary Kay business, and talked about a lot. But ambition, this is what ambition is. The definition of it is, it's a strong desire to do or achieve something, typically requiring determination and hard work. A strong desire to do or achieve something, typically requiring determination and hard work. I'll say it one more time. A strong desire to do or achieve something, typically requiring determination and hard work. Okay, so it's a noun. It's a strong desire. So a desire is just a desire until we move upon the desire. That would make it a verb. I mean, I didn't actually look it up to see if it's a noun or a verb. I just was like, okay, it's a strong desire. So that makes it a thing that I might have the desire to, go swim across the lake. I live on a little lake. I might want to go swim across the lake, but it's like 50 degrees out. I might have the desire to do that, the ambition to do that. But until I actually get myself up and put on whatever I'd have to put on, because Stephanie does not swim in that kind of weather, but you see what I'm saying? That would be the verb. So we can choose to use our ambition or not. We can have that in desire. So ambition is like the match. I think of it this way. It's like the match or the lighter, and the dream is like the fire. So the mission is like the match, and the dream is like the fire, and the fire lights up the why. The ambition is like a match, and the dream is like a fire, and the fire lights up, and that fire lights up the why. So here's some examples, because I think we can get our dreams and our whys mixed up, and then I think we can misuse our ambitions, or not even use our ambition. And then I think that can actually mess with our heads. At least it has me. So I'm just assuming that maybe if that's happened to me, maybe you've had this happen to you too. So here's a dream. I'll just give you the first kind of few dreams that I walked through in my Mary Kay career. My first one was to make enough money to leave my job. Well, I only needed to make about $900 a month. So, that's, it's not just a little bit of activity in Mary Kay. It takes consistency, and as a new consultant, to make $900 to make, not sell, make $900 in a month. And why did I want that? I wanted that. The why was to have control over my time and with who I spent or invested my time with. Because who I was spending and investing my time, I wasn't really investing my time with the people I was with where I taught, at the place I taught. So that was my first dream. And then the why. My second dream was to earn my first car. And looking back on that, I didn't realize this at the time, but looking back on it, I wanted to gain the approval from my dad. I was going to show him that I could do this, that this was not a bad idea, that this Mary Kay thing was really, you know, special. I was 25 years old, you guys. So I'm, you know, I was still pretty young. And I really had that need for approval. I was thirsty for it from my dad. I never really got it. So that was my first car. So I earned my first car within a year. Well, then it was to become a director. And that had a little more, my why was a little more deep than that. I really did see that, oh gosh, we're going to have kids. I don't want to have somebody else raise my kids. I did want to be able to have that choice of raising our kids. Really wanted to buy a house. It's super expensive to own a home here in the Seattle area. And I really wanted to gain the leadership status. That was really important to me. I just had that in me. So that was the next thing. Became a director a year later, then it was on to the next thing, and that was the Cadillac. So you know how we have these things in Mary Kay, and there's a reason that Mary Kay has those things for us to go after. They're there for a really good purpose, to always give us something so we don't settle into complacency or get lulled into inactivity to settle. So the next thing was that first Cadillac. And that happened, I think, maybe 18 months or so after our first, after I became a director. And that really was to gain more status. You know, I started going to events around the area. I didn't really, when I moved back to, I'm from the Seattle area, but I'd started my business where I was going to college in Boise. When we moved after we got married back to the Seattle area, I didn't know there was really any directors doing anything around here. I wasn't plugged in. And so then I started going to events, and I saw that, wow, those directors get to do more things. They get to speak. They get to go, they're at the end of the line of introductions. They're not at the beginning of the line. And I also saw how much more money they were making. So that first Cadillac had a lot of status connected to it. I wanted to buy a house. I wanted to make my family proud. I wanted to make my unit proud too. So again, there was some of those things of approval connected in those. Then it was so that happened. And then the next thing was to earn the first top director trip. This was my why for this particular dream at the time, was to have access to quality women, to just have friendships with these women that I was like, wow, I just admired them so much and I learned so much from them. And they had something. I felt like they had this something that I just didn't have, and I didn't know what it was. And I was so like determined to find out what it was that they had. And I wanted to take my husband on a trip to Greece. We didn't even have, that was the year 1995. I think it was the year of the trip to Greece. And we had to get passports. We didn't even have passports. And so, but the real reason was to gain more status. So we earned that first trip, and it was amazing. And I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I deserved it. I went on that trip, my husband and I both, and, you know, felt this way. We talk about it even to this day, that we just felt like we didn't belong there. There was a big deserve level issue for both of us. And everybody's so welcoming. I mean, you guys, the top director trips are amazing. And that I brought that to the top director trip. The top director trip did not give that to me. I brought my insecurity. I brought my lack of deserving. The people and the company never, ever gave me that. The second top director trip came the next year. I wanted to prove that we were not a one and done. Why? Status, achievement, performance. Everything was based on that for me and where my value lied. So do you see that common theme? Very common theme. The core of what I was using my ambition for was to fill this void in my life. This status, this void for status, value, love, acceptance, approval. I had this big empty place. Between my first and my second top director trip, I was at seminar. I had to really think about this, Cleta, when I was writing this down, this part of my story, because I couldn't exactly remember where. It's been so long ago. But I believe it was between my first and my second top director trip. So we'd already gone to Greece, and we had already earned the next trip, which was Paris. And that was the year Mary Kay had her stroke, her first stroke. Mary Kay had announced at leadership conference in January of that year. So before we had earned the second trip, she had announced that she would be going on the trip to Paris, and this would be her last top director trip ever. And so I was at leadership conference. We'd already done one trip. We were probably on target for the second. I vaguely, because we did hire and I had DIQs then and so forth. But I remember thinking, I will be on this trip, because I was like, I want to be on this trip with Mary Kay, being that it was her last one. So in between that time, Mary Kay had her first stroke soon thereafter, right after leadership conference, I think in February or something like that. And so it took away her voice. The company was, it was rocked us. It rocked all of our hearts. It rocked all of us a lot. But went to seminar that year after we'd earned our second trip. And I felt like my eyes were opened. And I saw that something that was in common between these national sales directors and these directors. And you guys, I want to take you back a little bit. So the top national sales directors were people like Carol Anton. No, she was still a top director. Arlene Lenars, Ann Newberry. I can't remember some of the others, but the top directors then were Linda Tupin, Pam Shaw, Jan Thetford. In fact, I think they might have been the top 3 at my seminar. Can't remember that for sure, but they all spoke at some point. Pam Shaw mentioned this book that she was doing, this workbook. And she said, Experiencing God. And I don't know if any of you do this, but when anybody where I want to go, if they say they've read a book, I write down what book they're reading. So I did that. I wrote down the book that Pam Shaw said she was reading. So I went home. I live in the Pacific Northwest. I go home and I'm trying to find this book. And this is before Amazon, and I didn't even know what an ISBN number was. So I'm going to find this book. I can't find this book. So then I thought, well, I'm going to call Pam Shaw. I pick up the phone. I call Jerry. Her husband answers. And I told him the story. I've been really looking for this book. I can't find it. He goes, try a Christian bookstore. And I'm like, Christian bookstore? Is there some? I didn't even know there's books. There's a bookstore just for Christians. Like that's where I was coming from. So then I had to look in the yellow pages for the book store that was made just for Christians. I went to it. They didn't have it. They said, could you get the ISBN number? So I called Jerry back and asked for the ISBN number. And I think I had to leave a message. The next day, 2 Experiencing God workbooks showed up on our front porch, FedEx, overnight. I don't think it was FedEx. I'm not sure, was FedEx a thing then? I don't remember. Anyways, showed up on my front porch. Like, I don't even remember ever, except for maybe Mary Kay would send me our trip package, with our tickets and stuff. That's the only time we'd ever get like overnight mail. Like, that is a big deal. So you guys, that lit that moment in time where somebody who I've only met once, Jerry Shaw, who is now no longer with us, who I can't wait to get to heaven and just tell him thank you. That what would you say? Simple, probably a very simple thing for him to do, for him to just send those, right? To me, it felt like he moved heaven and earth on my behalf. That changed everything for my husband and I. And at the same time, we had met this other couple that are in Mary Kay, and she wanted to learn how to earn a top director trip. And her and her husband came and shared Jesus with us, and everything changed. My whole life had changed in that moment. I went from, it was a journey, right? I mean, it wasn't the moment. I didn't have a moment of like realizing that Jesus is real and that God is real. And then all of a sudden I felt loved, accepted, approved. I no longer needed to search for my status. Those things all hadn't happened yet, but there was this change that gave me that hope that I had actually said yes to Mary Kay for, when really that wasn't the hope that was the real hope. You guys following me? So at the very beginning, when I said yes to Mary Kay because of needs and because of this empty part of me and this job that was not fulfilling and all these things, that was step number 1. Then I was exposed to mentors and women that I gained respect for, and I saw into their life, and I was like, I want what they have. What is it that they have? It took me years to figure out it wasn't an it. It was a he. And then in the journey from there, in understanding that I don't have to earn a car for my value. I don't have to have certain bar pins Now, do I enjoy that? Yes. Will I go after that? Yes, but not in lieu of being filled with God's love, God's acceptance. The status, I don't need that. Now, do I struggle with it? Yes, absolutely. But I'm surrounded by women and a great husband who reminds us all the time of where your value really comes from. So I want to tell you that first top director trip, between the first and second top director trip, the second top director, so the first one was to Greece. So think about all those things I saw that I didn't understand, where Paul walked and, all those biblical paces, I had no clue. The next trip was to Paris. So it was completely different, completely different kind of scenery. But the amount of love that came from and acceptance that came during that second trip, because I no longer felt like I didn't belong. I knew that I was there for a purpose and for a reason. So then the next years, you guys, I don't remember why. Honestly, I can't remember why, but if there was even a why, but we dropped really low. Well, let me just say, we dropped from doing 700 or 750 to 400, 450. And that was a struggle. And part of that was because there was a season in there where learning to run my business, not being driven, literally driven by the fear of not attaining something because of status or of finding my value, and learning how to run my business God's way. I honestly, at first, wasn't sure if he really wanted me to be successful. And it took me some time to learn that, another lesson I won't go into, but that season of time where I had to really learn, what do you want me? Like I didn't know how to ask that. I was just all myself, I'm just on it. I'm just a champion. I'm just going to drive. And I was just striving and I was stretching and, I'm going to go after it, all self-reliant. Well, when you do that for a while, it's all great and fine, but it becomes empty. It can become empty. It'll become empty sooner or later. It'll be empty because you can't fill that space that's made just for the Lord with anything else. So I had to learn that. So there was this big dip that happened. And all through that, there was lots of learning. But then, of course, we've all throughout that time, there's business growth too. But I wanted to share something with you guys about Peru that has been such I just really want to encourage you to know I would never in my wildest imagination ever think in my beginning of my Mary Kay, 20 years, 25 years, 30, now 31 years, even just a few years back, I would have never said, why would I go international? Like, why would I do that? But through a series of interesting connections and then Peru opening, when Peru did, I stepped into that. I do not speak Spanish. And I have had a director there. So I had a director, I've been there 8 times. And of course, COVID changed everything because we couldn't travel and, they're still struggling there. My first director there became a director August 1st. Is that right? Yeah, August 1st. I think it's right. And then she, was doing directorship and then just couldn't get traction for whatever reason, and then stepped out February 1st. So she wasn't a director for very long. And then her grandpa passed away and she got COVID actually, and her husband got COVID, and now she's pregnant. So there's these interesting like dynamics. But what I want to say about this is that there are people that you are supposed to meet. And for me, it happened to be in Peru. She'll go back into DIQ. There's still people, I still have a unit there, all of that. But who I became through that journey of that leadership challenge, because I had challenged my leadership to the very, to the very edge. That person, I can never go back. So your calling, who you are and who you are called to reach out to with this business, your calling is going to be really different than my calling, different than Cleta's. It's all connected to the product. Now, you might not be, I love the product, but, you know, absolutely love the product, but I'm not passionate about the product. Am I passionate about, you know, skincare or what? No, it's not. Do I love it? Yes. Let me say it that way. Do I enjoy the products? Absolutely. Yes. So grateful for retinol. So happy for retinol. Can't even say, but that's just the vehicle, you guys. That's the thing that puts you in relationship with somebody, that takes who you are, your special, unique person that you are, sitting across the table from somebody, or across a screen from somebody, or across a phone from somebody. You never know. Mary Kay used to always tell us that, didn't she, Cleta? She said, you never know what's going on in the heart of that woman that you are sitting in front of. Even the ones that are, you know, kind of, you know, prickly. Even those ones. In fact, probably more those ones than anyone's. So I just want to encourage you to not downplay your purpose and your whys and your ambition. Use it. If you have that desire, but you haven't acted on it, act on it. Because God will take you someplace in this business you never could have dreamt in a million years. Because you're going to be exposed to people who will train and teach and empower and influence and impact you. And then you're going to have that then to train, empower, influence, and impact others. If you allow it, this Mary Kay business can be life-altering. And that self-awareness piece, as you journey, becoming more and more self-aware, not so that you or I can become more internally focused or more self-focused, but actually because then we can become more others focused. We can catch ourselves when we get triggered. We can catch ourselves. So journey in that self-awareness place and really learn where your value comes from. So there is no longer a need to strive for it or scramble around to achieve something because of how it will look for status or whatever. I'm not ashamed of telling you guys that part of my story, even though it is, even though there was that time where I did this business for my motives were really, you know, mispointed, because I know that if I wouldn't have gone through that part, I wouldn't be able to be who I am today. I wouldn't get it. There's so many years I just didn't get it. And I just did this business to do it. And I knew there was something missing. So there's this like connecting. When Mary Kay would always say to us, take God as your business partner. I was like, you know, even later when I was, you know, walking with Jesus, I still didn't really quite get what that meant. And I believe that's continuing to grow, but really recognizing that he really is the one that brings you the value. And none of us deserve it. We can't deserve it. I mean, it's too valuable. We don't have to. It's given to us. He's given to us as a gift. So don't shortcut your progress by giving up too soon on whatever it is that might be tugging on your heart, that desire that you have, and don't allow voices that say your time is up. Your time is not up. I have had that voice over these last few years, and I know it's a lie, because I think about the women that have gone before me, and I'm like, those are the women that were so influential. That's now who we can be, Cleta, you know, to the women, no matter the age, but the age in Mary Kay, the experience we have to give. So all of those struggles, lessons, celebrations, you know, those things that you could be ashamed of, those are all part of your story. They're important. They're part of the losses. They're like links in a chain, and it makes you strong. And that chain will withstand the next decade, because you're going to have those experiences to stand on and to remind yourself of what you've already walked through, you and God. Rebecca Evans is one of my favorite people, and she's a mentor of mine. She will always tell me, there's nothing two can't do. One is God and the other is you. She said that to me so many times. It rings in my head all the time. And I'm so grateful for people that not only would say things like that, but then I would get to glimpse their life and be part of their life and see it played out. So maybe you have parts of your life that are incongruent to who you really are. Like I was in my career of choice as a teacher was incongruent to who I was, and it was stealing me. It was stealing who I was made to be. And I had to make these choices. I soon had to start making these, new different choices and find out, well, if that was incongruent to me, then who really? So dive into that, you guys. I know CLETA gives you training, and your directors gives you training on all different kinds of ways to learn about who you really are, as far as, strength finders and DISC. I love the Enneagram. So many different ways to learn and to understand your strengths, talents, gifts, the path that you're made to walk. I just want to encourage you, take all of those crazy things that you've done in the past, or good choices and bad and everything in between. They're all part of the story, and your story is important. It's an important story for somebody to hear. So use the product, get in front of lots of faces, and know how valuable you are, and you will be used in a way that will blow your mind. Blow your mind. I don't have a cute poem to end with or anything like that. I'm just going to end.
Listen, girl, that was amazing. One thing is that I want to tell you is that Jana and Selah, a couple of directors on here, and Rosie, we are all doing Experiencing God right now. I think we're on week 11.
No way!
Yeah, so it's a director Bible study, actually. And so I was about to grab my book over there, but we're on the last 2 weeks of it, and I have just thoroughly enjoyed it. And
that is so crazy.
It's so funny because I had the book at least a year, but I wanted to find a group to do it with, and I heard about this director Bible study doing it, a bunch of directors from Michigan, and now that it's virtual, lots of others are on there. But anyway, it's just really cool that Pam and Gary sent you that book. That is awesome.
A million years ago. That's so awesome.
I know it. Well, I just want to thank you. I mean, really, the whole thing, we're all in a journey. And if you've been in Mary Kay for a year or 31 years or 35 years, I mean, we go through so much. And when you look back, you can see all the reasons. And you know what, when you went to Peru, I was wondering about if you spoke Spanish, because I was there on the opening of Colombia.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I did not speak a lick of Spanish. And, we were there 10 days, and it was something else. And it's something I never, ever, ever would have done had I not been in Mary Kay, to just go to a foreign country. And this isn't like a top director trip. This is like you're on your own. And it was something else. But
Did you go back?
Well, you know what? We got about 25 people that we signed up that day of the opening, but I ended up, we started doing Zoom calls and different things like that. And, I did not develop a director, unfortunately, in time, but I still never regret the experience.
You don't regret it. No.
And you never know. Might have to go back. We had some I don't know if Peru had issues, but with Colombia, like half the kids didn't come in for 6 or 7 weeks after we recruited them. And they were losing a little confidence in us as the leader. You know what I'm saying? But that's, anyway.
And Peru learned a lot from Colombia because of just, it's just the growing pains. It's only so much the company can project's going to happen.
Right.
And when you have, thousands and thousands and thousands of people that come to your event, it's
what Colombia did is Colombia started checking at customs. It got held up for 5, 6, 7 weeks. They started holding every single kit and going through them. So it was just a bunch of crazy stuff. But anyway, I'm so proud of you, and how awesome that you're over there in that country, and that you are going to have multiple directors. And
I believe that,
as well as I do, you always get paid on those. So even if you become a national or retire, you still get that international income. So
that's right. Yeah, that's a forever.
I love every single thing about what you said. And I'd love some of the women on here, if you would like to just unmute and pop on here. We would love to hear from you if you'd like to
Oh, I'm
just.
loving these comments too. Thank you.
Oh, yes, yes. And so if some of the directors or even consultants, either one of y'all, anybody would like to say something to Stephanie before we
Stephanie,
let her go?
I'll go ahead and get started.
Just unmute and
Lori,
start.
I'm one of Cleta's offspring, and so I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your heart. I love what you said about when you do it right, you build a long-term, sustainable, profitable business, and we just need to really focus on that, because you're right. When we get in front of the people, you never know what's going on in their lives and how this business, the product's just the vehicle to be able to get in front of them and help them and give them an opportunity that they may know nothing about. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us and your heart, and just reminding us of the many people that are out there that really need us and need this opportunity.
Yeah, they sure do. Where do you live?
Thomasville, Georgia.
In Georgia. Awesome.
She's about 45 minutes from me.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, who else would like to say something?
Hey, this is Jana. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, Jana.
Perfect. Hey, Stephanie. My name is Jana Strunk, and I'm a Cleta's girlfriend from Kansas. And so I'm an independent sales director. And I think that's something that you share, just kind of the way that you were working your business, but you were very self-reliant. And, prior to Mary Kay, I believed in God, but my walk with the Lord has definitely changed through Mary Kay. Obviously, oh my goodness, this Bible study, when you said experiencing God, I thought, are you serious?
I can't believe you. I can hardly believe it too.
I know.
Been one of the most life-changing studies that I've ever experienced. And I've been in a lot of Bible studies. So, but also, when you were talking about the way, how you were working your business kind of in your own power and being self-reliant, I can totally identify with that. And so, and I can also see that I've had a shift in my business and the way that I'm working my business. And so thank you for giving me hope.
You're welcome.
Earning that top director trip last year, we did 450. And so I'm really excited to move to that next level. I love that you said your calling is connected to the product. It's the vehicle. That's powerful. We all need to remember that. And talking about really ambition. I love words. Words are so powerful. So anyway, and then I love that quote from, was it Rebecca Evans?
Rebecca Evans.
There's nothing two can't do when one is God and one is you.
Right.
I'm putting that somewhere. So anyway, thank you so much for just pouring into us tonight and sharing your heart and touching us.
You're so welcome. Thank you for sharing. I have something I want to say about, you've made me think of something. I just was talking to one of my offspring's consultants, Jana, that was who, and maybe this will help, not directly to you, Jana, but maybe women within your organization, and then maybe a consultant that's on this call or on this Zoom. This particular consultant that I was working or talking with, I've known her for a long time, and she really wants to finish the Court of Sales this year. She's done Princess Court a couple times, or at least once, and she has a pretty big goal. It's a pretty big jump, but reasonable to do by June. So we were talking about that, and I kept, there's two parts of our business, right? There's sharing the product and sharing the opportunity, and they're connected. But quite often, consultants will lean very heavily on the sharing the product part, and then the sharing the opportunity part will just kind of, maybe if somebody asks me or whatever, because maybe in their mind, they don't have a goal to become a director or earn a car, or maybe even, be in a leadership position. That's not something that is a desire of their heart. So I was talking to this consultant. I said, what if, since that, that's not really, it feels inauthentic to her, is I think the word that she used. I don't want to misquote her, but that's the gist of what I heard from her sharing with me. And so she felt like it was more forcing, like, watch this video and then my director will call you. And it felt kind of, I'm just going to win this. I'm in this contest or whatever. And so we were talking about that. And I said, how about if you just said this? My goal is not to move up in leadership in this Mary Kay business, but I believe in the product and the company so much that I would be remiss if I didn't at least share it with you, so that you have a choice one way or another.
I love that.
And it was like she got set free, because that first part of the sentence is, my goal is not leadership or to move up in my Mary Kay business, move up the career path, or however she wanted to state that, right? It would be authentic to her. And, but I would be remiss if I didn't at least share it and, at least educate you or use whatever words you want there. And I don't know why, Jana, it wasn't really a connection, but it totally just popped into my head. And I thought somebody needs to hear that. I don't know if it's a director or that now you have something to give to one of your gals that is, selling like crazy. And she's seen a lot of faces, but isn't recruiting at all. And that there's opportunity. And then what happens is then we get that mess in our head of feeling ashamed because I'm not sharing the opportunity. And there's a message in our Mary Kay world that's not a mean-spirited message, but it can be that message of you should be ashamed or you're being selfish by not sharing the opportunity. And I've had that conversation with myself where I was nervous or whatever. So I was putting my own needs before the person that I'm sharing with. But if there is that conversation right out the gate, that's an honest, if that's honest and authentic to you or to one of your consultants, my goal is not to build a unit or a large team, but I love the product and I love the opportunity, or I wouldn't be doing it. I'd be remiss if I didn't at least share it with you.
So I think that you were clearly speaking to someone in my organization, because my Offspring sales director, Rosie, one of her red jackets, Trista, is on the call tonight, and you have directly spoke to her heart, and she just was touched by that. So,
oh, I see that. Thank you, Trista.
So thank you so much for sharing that. I love that. And then, in recruiting, I believe that recruiting is finding a need and filling it, just like the product. We have to find what their need is and what their skin is. And then for the opportunity, we have to just find what their need is and fill it. So thank you so much for sharing that and impacting Trista and so many of us.
Thanks, True. Thank you, Jana and Trista.
Jana. And that was great tip, Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
Hi,
How are
it's
you?
Shannon. I put in the group chat. I used to live in Linwood 5
No
years.
way.
Yes, I did. I worked for Internal Revenue Service out of the Bellevue office.
So you commuted.
Yes, I was there when that bridge, when the floating bridge broke. That's how long it's
floating.
Yeah. Not good. But I want you to know you slapped me with the ambition equals matches with
It's like the match or the lighter.
Yes. And then dream equals fire. And then fire lights up your why. And I've been in the dream. I was stuck in the dreaming mode. And see, that's what the new year brought in for me. It lit that fire. The dream lit the fire. And so the fire has lit my why. And so you just like ding, 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 ding.
Oh,
so I want to say thank you. Yes. Because with these last days of the month, this is a lot for me. And I really needed that. That's something to keep pulling on every day. So I thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I will be praying that you will have your ambition will move into action.
Yes. Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Thank you for
Stephanie,
sharing.
this is Sayla. I'm one of Cleta's offspring. I'm
Hi.
from Valdosta, Georgia. Hi. I just want to thank you for sharing your heart, your words of wisdom. I love your sweet spirit. You just come off just so sincere and genuine. And I appreciate you sharing, of how you were running your business, on your own. And then when you let the Lord come in and take over, and he is the one guiding you and leading your business, that everything changed. And I think that you're so right, that so many of us, don't feel deserving, or, we have consultants or people on our team, or we're talking to other women that don't feel deserving, that is something that we really as women have to be aware of and lift ourselves and others up. No matter what a person looks like, you never know what they're thinking about themselves. I talked to someone yesterday, and she's gorgeous, but when you can talk to her just a few minutes, and that her self-esteem is down in the basement. So thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Thank you for sharing that. It just encourages me.
Thank you, Sayla. Okay, we have time for about one more. Anybody else want to say something before
I
we?
love your name, Sayla. That's such a pretty name.
Thank you.
All right, you guys. Well, Stephanie, thank you so very, very much
My
again
pleasure.
for spending this hour and 8 minutes with us. I appreciate you. And, not being in the same seminar, really, I know I was on the China trip with you and one of the Maui trips, and I have to go back and look at the other ones, Rome. And so, but anyway, now I know you.
I know. Now we know each other. I'm so glad.
Right.
Thank you
I've
for
always
asking me.
seen your name and known your name, even though I did have to confess I had to call her and say, how actually do you pronounce your last name? And so
It's all right. I get asked that a lot.
the Richter scale, it really helped me. But
Like
thank
the
you.
earthquake.
We're just praying for you to have just a phenomenal year end finish and month end finish too, and just bless all your efforts in Peru and just everything you do. And you do have the heart of Mary Kay. It does show. And I just pray abundant blessings for you and for everyone that's listening to this. You guys take it to heart what she said and really think about it. And so what drives you and why are you going? Why are you going there? Right. So you guys, we have a great week to finish up some big things. Our month ends on the next Wednesday. Don't forget about this Start a Chain Reaction earrings for this month. These are so pretty, you guys. So you want to definitely get these. They match another necklace that we had that had some gold and silver links. So I just love all. Yes,
I saw yours.
I just love all of the jewelry this year. I always do, but I really like it this year.
I do too. They've done an extra special good job this year.
They really have.
Yeah.
I mean, they really, really have. So, okay, you guys. Well, thank you so much. Let me just stop our YouTubers. Thank you, all the YouTube gals, for watching live. We appreciate you.
Thank you for your Peru